Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video I wanted to do a bit of a different video and talk to you guys about the pros and cons of A-levels at college. I wanted to do this video because I feel like there's a lot of negativity around the subject of A-levels. I kind of wanted to do a balanced kind of opinion and view on A-levels in general, so that if anyone is thinking about doing A-levels either this coming year or in future years, then you kind of know what to expect. I have just finished my second year of college, so I'm going on to do university in September. I thought this would be the perfect time to talk to you about my experience at college. Obviously I'm not saying that you're going to have the same experiences as me, and I'm not going to say that you're going to have the same viewpoint that I have, but I wanted to kind of give you a very transparent and just honest view of college. Personally, I have always kind of been that type of person who does enjoy education, but I won't lie and sit here and say that college was the best experience of my life. Out of all of the education I've had in my life, college has probably been the best, but it's also been the worst, especially for my mental health, which I will get into. Obviously A-levels are designed to be quite hard, especially because you're doing them straight from GCSEs. Personally for me, because I had the COVID lockdown pandemic in my last year of high school, so I started when I was in year 10 and didn't finish till I was in year 12, so I kind of missed out on a lot of my GCSE kind of experience. So going straight from basically the start of year 10 till like year 13 was such a jump. Yeah, I am going to start off with the positives just because I feel like these are quite easy to pinpoint. Obviously I will just disclaim that things that I see the positive, you might not see the positive, and same with negatives, so just kind of take these as like points in general. The first thing about A-levels, which I think is very different to if you were doing a course, is the amount of people that you speak to and the amount of people who you become friends with within A-levels, because essentially you're picking 3 or even sometimes 4 different subjects, and they're going to be completely different people in different subjects, and so you're always going to be familiar with faces even if you don't talk to them. And I definitely found this a lot better than if you were doing a course, because within a course you're with the same people all the time, and if you fall out with someone then you're kind of like still stuck. Whereas with A-levels, if you do fall out with someone, it doesn't really matter because there's so many other people you can speak to. Secondly, with A-levels, I feel like you are open to a lot more opportunities in terms of career paths, because you're picking 3 or 4 different subjects. And also if you're doing A-levels to get into uni, it opens up 3 different or even 4 different options of what you could go into for uni. For example, I obviously did photography, business and geography, and I could go into pretty much most careers with those subjects. It gives you so many different options because of the different subjects you've taken. This is also where I'd say that A-levels are better than a course for this kind of aspect. Unless you're obviously dead set on what you want to do, then a course is probably better. But with A-levels, if you're not too sure about what you want to do, you've got 3 or 4 different options of different routes you can go down. But also with a course, if you do end up not liking your course, then you have kind of just wasted however long on that course. Whereas with A-levels, if you don't like the subject you're doing within your first year, you can take an AS qualification, which still gives you a qualification even if it's not as high as an A-level. So that's obviously really useful. Obviously I don't actually know if with a course, if you do 1 year instead of 2 years, I don't know if there is some sort of qualification you can get. I don't know, so don't hold me on that. Another thing is obviously if you did a course, you have like maybe 1 or 2 teachers for that course, and if you don't really get on with them, then you are kind of stuck. But with A-levels, you have a teacher for each, or you might have 2 different teachers for one of them, and that just opens up a lot more variety of people you can talk to, obviously for support. And obviously if you don't have one teacher, you can just go to the other. Like kind of got the same dynamic as high school would, and I think that's definitely something that I quite liked, because obviously GCSEs to A-levels is such like a huge jump. So having the same kind of familiarities, basically what I'm trying to say, by having things that are familiar to you from high school in terms of being in a classroom, being taught by a teacher, doing textbook work, it's kind of like comfort. It's something you've done before. Obviously with a course, I don't know how it works with a course, it's probably the same with a course, but obviously if you're doing one subject, you're not really used to just doing that one subject. Quite different in terms of you're heading down one route. Also with A-levels, this could be a positive or negative for anyone. Very independent, you do have a reduced timetable. It just meant that you have more time, and this is the same with a course, so this does apply if you do a course, which means that you have more time to do other things, but the workload is obviously quite hefty. For me, I wouldn't say I actually got that much like homework. Like, I mean, at the start, I guess so. Like I used to do like an essay a week. That was only for one subject, and then my other subject I didn't get any homework, and then for another subject it was just doing coursework, so it didn't really feel like homework. But yeah, having a reduced timetable is definitely beneficial. In my first year I had a day off within my timetable, and then I had I think 1 or 2 half days and then 2 full days. And then this year I don't have a day off, but I had like 3 half days and 2 full days, so kind of worked out quite well for me. Although by the time it was year 13 I was basically coming in all day every day, just because that's kind of how I felt like I should manage my time. Another thing about A-levels, which I guess you could say is a negative or a positive depending on what kind of person you are, but I personally loved having the freedom and like the independence of college, being told what to do but then just getting on with it. You didn't feel like smothered or feel like you had to be at the same level as everyone else, because at college everyone's at different levels, everyone's at different speeds, and it didn't feel like you had to like be competing, if that makes sense. Like I felt like at high school everyone had to get like the same answer, or everyone had to get like the same level of something, and if you didn't then you were falling behind. But at college you're just like an individual, and I much prefer that when you're kind of just like on your own journey, which is really cringe to say but it's true. College, you are very much your own person, and it's up to you what you do with your time, how you maintain it and how you utilize it to be productive and get the grades you want. If you are someone who needs a bit more like extra support in terms of like you are like not very productive, or like you don't really get your work done on time, because at my college they might hassle you here and there to get stuff done, but after a while they will just stop, and it's like completely on you to get you where you need to go. Like they don't really care. Like obviously they'll support you, but it gets to a point where they're like, it's up to you now, like you've to sort it out for yourself, like, you know, that kind of thing. Those are all the positives that I can think of from the top of my head. Moving on to the negatives of A-levels. You would have heard literally everyone who's done A-levels say that they are the most stressful things ever, and I'm not going to sit here and say that they're not, because they honestly are very stressful. No matter how smart you are, no matter how well like managing your time, you will still feel some sort of stress. I generally thought that I was doing really well in terms of using my frees productively and getting my revision done earlier rather than later, and I still felt immensely stressed. Like, even if you are prepared, you are going to feel stressed in some way. You might feel it less because you've been more prepared, but you're still going to feel some sort of stress around the whole A-level season. As well, if you are planning to go to uni or doing an apprenticeship or anything that involves like other education after A-levels, you also are sorting all of that within the whole A-level season. So for uni, the UCAS deadline is January, but the early application deadline I think is in October. So you basically have to be getting your personal statement done as soon as possible, and I didn't start mine till probably about October. But I would definitely recommend trying to start your personal statement over the summer, because it will save you so much time. Because when you get into your first term of year 13, it really does kick in how much you need to be doing, because you're learning new content still, you're trying to revise that content, you're trying to get your personal statement done, you're trying to like enjoy life, and also like around that time you might be doing driving lessons, you might be turning 18, you might be wanting to go out. There's so much within year 13 that changes in your life that it just all piles together. Also for me, I had geography coursework and photography coursework, so my component 1 due at the end of January, as well as obviously the UCAS deadline being the end of January, and I also had my driving test the following like week I think from that. It all kind of for me like piled together, and when I tell you January to March like season of year 13 was honestly probably the worst few months I've had in my life. Like I've never seen my mental health get that low before. I would say that I'm someone who manages my mental health quite well. Like I'm quite like, I kind of just get over things quite quickly. I just kind of don't let them affect me unless like I want them to. But yeah, there's a whole heavy workload of things that you have to do within year 13. So yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is A-levels is stressful. That is the negative of it, that everything gets compiled into like one kind of part of it. Because you're doing 3 subjects or even 4 subjects, you have to revise a whole 2 years for each of those subjects. Like that is so much content, considering GCSE you are doing 10 subjects but you have 5 years to learn all of those 10 subjects. And obviously at GCSE it is a lot easier because obviously you are younger, but at college you are literally like treated completely as an adult, which to some people might be a good thing or a bad thing. But in terms of like the degree of things that are harder, and obviously managing your time and the content, it's so heavy. Like it's just too much in one go, especially because you've got 2 years, and when I tell you those 2 years will fly by, like I can't believe I finished college. Like I still think that I'm going into like my 2nd year of college in September. Like it hasn't sunk in that I've done 2 years of college. I don't even know where my first year went. Like I don't remember my first year of college. Time is like such an important thing within college and A-levels because you just don't have enough of it. Another negative I would definitely say is the exam season for most subjects, depending on what you're doing. So for me, I had 3 written paper exams for each of my essay-based subjects. So in total I had 6 written exams, and then for my creative subject, which was photography, I had a 15-hour like physical exam. Is that what we call it? Creative exam. The way my exams were spaced out was not bad, like it could have been a lot worse. But I know a lot of my friends had like 2 A-levels on one day and then had another A-level the following morning. You can't control it, like there's nothing you can do about it, and I will definitely say that that can completely impact your performance on that exam. And that's one thing I do hate about A-levels, is that it doesn't matter how much you've revised and how much you know the content, how ready you feel, because if you have 2 exams on one day and you're like, you've had an awful morning, you know, you haven't eaten enough in that morning, both of those exams are not going to go as well as you would have wanted. Another thing I will say is the amount of content that you learn in college for A-levels is just so much. I didn't finish the 2 years of content for my exams until about April, considering my exams started in May. And I hadn't finished all the content, so I couldn't even start revising for all of my topics till obviously after I'd finished learning it, and that meant that I only had a few weeks to learn like specific topics. And what was worse is that the topics that I had last were like the hardest topics. I will just say that time, there's just not enough of it. If you are doing A-levels in September or soon, literally listen to what everyone says, saying that you need to be revising from literally the get-go, but definitely just try and revise as much as possible within year 12 as well, just because it will really cut a lot of stress and a lot of time off your hands. Again, obviously with A-levels, the A-level exams, they are designed to be really hard. If you don't know what the question's asking, you're kind of screwed. I've experienced this firsthand with a lot of my subjects, that there'll be a question, I'll be like, oh, I know what to write about that. I'll start writing it, but you're writing it from the wrong viewpoint. I still don't think I've grasped actually what questions are asking. But yeah, it took me a long time to actually understand how to not only understand what the question's asking, but also knowing how to like answer it. Because even if you write the right stuff, if you haven't got the structure like nailed down, then you're not going to get very many marks. And at A-level, they don't tell you a structure. I mean, at my college, they didn't give us any kind of structure to structure essays. This next thing could be a positive or a negative to people, but there is a lot of independent learning that you have to do in order to actually grasp what you're learning. Your teachers will only go over it once. They might not even go over it at all. They might tell you, oh, I want you to read this like outside lesson, and that could be what a question's based on. I'm so sorry that the lighting keeps changing in this video. It's just gone suddenly really dark and I keep running out of storage, so my camera keeps changing. But another thing that I really wanted to quickly mention is that if you miss like a lesson at college, then you need to catch up on that like ASAP, because you will feel so far behind if you just miss even just one lesson. How it worked at my college was that we had 2.5 hour lessons, which then changed to 2 3/4 hour lessons, which are very long lessons. So obviously if I miss like a morning, which is what that would take up, it's like almost 3 hours of work that I've missed. In my first year of A-levels, I had a full day off on a Thursday, and I would use that full day to do any social media stuff, and then the other half days I had, and obviously evenings within the week, I would then spend on college work. But when it came to second year, I think I used up all of my frees. I used a lot of evenings and I stayed in college till quite late just to get things done, just because I felt more productive if I was at college doing work than I would at home. And even if you're not super productive in those sessions, it just feels a bit better that you're at college like instead of at home. When I say productively, I wouldn't say that I was like a full pelt doing those revision, because there were times where I literally just sat there and I chatted and I just didn't do anything. And they don't have to be boring. Like, I know everyone says, oh, like you'd rather be with your friends than your frees, but you could literally be studying with your friends. It's just as fun. Anyways, I feel like I've been rambling for like the past hour, but I really hope this video has helped some people out. Obviously, I think I went on a bit of a tangent and just started talking about advice, but if you want to see a separate advice video for A-levels, then definitely let me know and I will film one. But yeah, I really hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Follow my social medias, they'll be on the screen or down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.